there was one residing thought or feeling that you'd like people to take away from your debut album, what would that be?
It's a hard think of one. Something witty, yet
Something profound.
philosophical, yet off the cuff and charming.
You have, though, announced your next tour for the autumn. Some beautiful dates in there, some beautiful venues as well. Is there one on that list that you're particularly looking forward to getting up on that stage?
Can't believe we're doing Apollo, Hammersmith. We saw Muse there, and it's like, we shouldn't be in there. It's too big.
All right, welcome. This is Absolute Radio. Lovely to join Abigail and Georgia from The Last Dinner Party. You're here. Welcome. How are you doing?
We are.
Yeah, you are here. This is really happening.
So here.
But you're so busy at the moment, aren't you? I mean, it's so thrilling to see you because the rise has been so quick, hasn't it? Did it catch you by surprise, or could you feel the sparks kind of early on?
I don't think anyone can tell when something's going to be like this. I mean, I think we always were like, oh, like we're proud of this and we're enjoying it and it feels good and we know that it's good and hopefully other people think it, but like no way we would have thought, oh, in like less than a year after you release Nothing Matters, that any of this would have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been very overwhelming.
Because, I mean, like, from a couple of years back, if you watch the sort of meteoric rise of bands like Wet Leg and stuff and see sort of how quickly that charted and stuff, I mean, I feel like you've got the golden ticket in that sense as well. Talking about the music and talking about the record, I'm so happy that you're writing music that you do and it's connecting with so many people. When did the first song click where you realised your sound? Which one was that?
Burn Alive.
Yeah.
Burn Alive was the first one that we wrote and finished. It's so hard to like kind of be like, oh, this was the moment we knew, because it wasn't really. It was just sort of kind of, they just kind of naturally seemed to be coming together as we wrote. But yeah, Burn Alive was the first one, and it's been what we opened our set with this entire time, and so we were like, oh, it has to be the opening of the record, and we thought that was going to be the first single. Like for so long we were like, oh, it's going to be Burn Alive, of course. And then I'm glad it was Nothing Matters, because that's done really well.
When the music and the instruments came together, was there one particular day where you were like, this feels really good and engaged and on a level with each other artistically?
Yeah.
Is there a story in here?
Well,
share it.
we were having a rehearsal. I think this is even before we played our first ever gig. We were at a rehearsal studio in Camden, and we were kind of not really getting anywhere, like kind of hitting a wall. Like, we were like, we really want to play a gig, but it's not quite there yet. And we were like, all right, let's go to the pub, think about it. And then we each probably had like 4 or 5 pints. We were like pretty on a level. And then we were like, nah, actually, let's go back to the rehearsal room and see what happens. And you know what? It actually sounded better. Because we were a lot better.
And then that gave us the confidence to like be like, right, let's book a gig right now.
Yeah.
And then we were just like,
cool.
where do we go? Yeah, George Tavern.
Yeah.
We were just like, let's do it. Let's do a show.
Nice. Because it's quite hard, isn't it? It's like when you go out dancing with someone that you've never met before. It's quite weird to suddenly get so free and loose, isn't it?
Yeah, I think like just having less inhibitions just for that one rehearsal was like, oh, actually it feels really good to kind of experiment, commit to things, kind of move a little more on stage, and then having a rehearsal where we were uninhibited.
We've been sober since then.
Yeah,
I must add.
It was really good actually, because it meant that we were like, okay, this feels good, this looks good, it sounds good, to commit entirely. And I think for every gig after that, after our first one, it's been uninhibited and just freed, because we're kind of imbued with the confidence that like, actually that's really fun.
Yeah, when you let loose and let go, it is really fun, isn't it? What's changed in terms of that first gig now to the gigs you're playing? Like, obviously the core instruments are still the same, but if you had to sort of pull other stuff into the setup, the live setup, in terms of instruments or channels and stuff like that.
We just make ourselves a nightmare for any crew and front of house technician who needs to set us up. Yeah, we've accumulated a flute, mandolin. Everyone has now got several different guitars that they change. What was great about being a live band for so long and not having anything out and it being only a live experience was that the songs were so like mutable, and we could just keep adding things and evolving and changing things and noticing when a crowd liked something, and you know, like changing guitar solos, adding different sections, adding, you know, like for the Portrait of a Dead Girl, which is on the record, we added like this kind of like gospel outro sing-along thing that we now do live, which we didn't used to do, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
to
That's
see,
an interesting way of doing it.
Yeah.
Would you do it again for album 2? Would that work, do you think?
Do what?
Yeah. I mean,
What,
we've,
sort of play them all live and
If we can, yeah. If we have time.
we've already sort of started,
We
you know.
we have actually started album 2.
Have you?
Yeah, and we
Okay.
play some new songs that aren't on the record live, you know,
Okay.
in America, just like, because that's the only way to kind of gauge kind of where things need filling out or need stripping back is by seeing how other people respond to it. Because if they've heard it before, they'll just cheer
know,
for
yeah.
whatever it is
Yeah,
that
they'll
you
know,
do.
yeah.
But if they haven't, it's such an incredible way of gauging a song, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll do that for album 2.
You have, though, announced today, as we're recording this, your next tour for the autumn as well. Some beautiful dates in there, some beautiful venues as well. Is there one on that list that you're particularly looking forward to getting up on that stage?
Can't believe we're doing Apollo. Hammersmith.
Yeah.
We saw Muse there. Like, when did we do, like, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
And it's like, we shouldn't be in there. It's too big.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
a
and
great
Victoria Warehouse
Yeah.
in Manchester.
Mhm.
That seems massive.
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge venue.
It's all massive. I don't know what we're doing.
What do you listen to? Like when you're on the road and stuff, is it sort of podcasts and stuff, or do you still hark back to some really iconic sort of influences for you all?
Shout out Spotify. I love my Discover Weekly. You do find really great things on that. I mean, it changes all the time. At the moment, I'm listening to a lot of BC Camplight. I love him. A lot of like country music, like old Western stuff, like the Cossoy Sisters and some of the more recent, like Johnny Cash. I recently just discovered someone called Sophie Powers who does like weird hyper new metal stuff,
Okay.
which goes really hard.
So good.
And I love her.
Do you feel that when you're putting together a record that it can be quite as explorative as you want it to be, that maybe it couldn't have been maybe like a couple of decades back?
I think that's part of the reason that our album is so maximalist and has so many influences, is because we're lucky enough to be part of a generation where you can curate and kind of magpie together the shiny bits from every musical influence ever, like, you know, classical music we listen to a lot of, but also just love contemporary pop music as well.
Yeah.
Like, it just, you don't have to be a Brit pop person. You
Exactly.
can be an
Yeah.
anything person.
I think it's going to make music a lot richer for it as well,
think so.
actually.
So yeah.
Definitely. And if there was one residing thought or feeling that you'd like people to take away from your debut album, what would that be? Or one thing as a takeaway? You don't have to answer it.
No, I'm trying to think.
It's hard. It's a
trying to
hard
think of
one.
something witty,
Something
yet
profound.
philosophical, yet off the cuff and charming. I don't know. Can I swear?
That says it all. Does it? Just, you know, it's like you were saying earlier, it's all about sort of being free, isn't it?
It is. I think sincerity is
Yeah,
what is
that's
something
it.
that I've said before about this album, because I think you can't really go into making any piece of art being like, I want people to feel like this when they listen to it, because there's already 5 people that made this album, and our MO is just following what we're interested in and what we love, and kind of, you know, it's a wonderful what's the word, repercussion from that people find something that they love about it and it means something to them. But I guess because we did the whole thing with such sincerity and such dedication, maybe that would be what you take away, is that, you know, approach art with sincerity.
Yeah, and just like let yourself feel things out. Like we talk about this album being about, like, you know, kind of extremes of emotion, and that's the word ecstasy in the album title. Just like be sincere and committed, and embrace your own emotions and the things that you want to create. Like, I feel like many things are so tinged with irony and like kind of apologizing for itself, and this album isn't at all. So yeah, be sincere, embrace it, commit to the bit.
Yeah, commit to the bit.
Okay, that's the tagline. Okay.
Commit to the bit.
Prelude to Ecstasy is out now. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.